Welcome everyone to the Best Damn Podcast. I am your host, John Keene. As always, I would like to thank you guys for joining me. Ask that you please add, follow, check us out Instagram, Facebook, Best Damn Podcast, Twitter, The Real Best Damn. And wherever you're watching from, please make sure to hit the like, give us a thumbs up, leave a comment, let me know what you think. Share this link, help me to get it out there. That way, new people can find me and make sure to subscribe. Tonight, we have got a really interesting video for you guys. This is a topic I haven't really covered, but I've seen a lot of stuff on it. And man, it really, really has something to it. We're going to be talking about the Tartarian Empire. Now, I'm not sure how many of you guys are familiar with this, but if you look at the architecture, and this is something, um, I feel like it's just now kind of coming into the collective. Here, let me go ahead and start to share the screen here. There we go. Let me share the screen here. It's just now start to coming into the collective. A lot more people are starting to talk stuff, but if you look at like basically a lot of the architecture across the globe, especially a lot of the shit that they've torn down. They did it throughout the world fairs in the late 1800s, early 1900s. I mean, the architecture was just it was phenomenal. I mean, you see a lot of the buildings back then, and you're going to find castles and chateaus that are all across the world. We're going to just look at images and videos from all over. It does appear, and there's maps too, explaining the Tartarian Empire. So, I mean, this is an actual historical, empire that did once exist. And what a lot of people believe is that they were far more technologically advanced than what we are today. And see, one of the things that I started to see that, really let me know that shit wasn't adding up was when I was looking at, pyramids and Vimanas and shit like that. And you look at like the ancient architecture across the globe. Well, one of the things is, you get you get mainstream science, academia, they'll tell you that all of these structures that were built, they were built as either tombs and shit like that. When it's obviously they were definitely built for some other purpose. And we're now seeing that a lot of the structures, especially when it comes to like pyramidal structures and things of that nature, that the shapes of these structures were to harness some sort of energy. Like, for example, the four-sided pyramid is perfect for the conductivity of magnetism or ferrofluid. A lot of the Vimanas across the globe, the tops of the temples, they take the shape of what the same thing that we use in the nose of stealth fighter jets, radar. So it is to conduct some sort of frequency. Well, then you see that we have these maps from the Tartarian Empire. The Tartarian Empire refers to a group of pseudo historical conspiracy theories, including ideas of a hidden past, mud floods, which originated as pseudo scientific Russian nationalism. Tartary or Tartaria is a historical name for Central Asia and Siberia. Conspiracy theories assert that Tartary or the Tartarian Empire was a lost civilization with advanced technology and culture, and this ignores well documented accounts of Tartary within the history of Asia. In the present day, Tartary covers a region spanning central Afghanistan to northern Kazakhstan, as well as areas in Mongolia, China, and the Russia and the Far East. I believe that it was even more than that. I believe this thing covered the whole fucking globe. Yeah, nice to see you guys. Um, yeah, exactly, and we're gonna look at this. We're gonna look at the cathedrals, the castles, the chateaus, um, and it's mind blowing. It's absolutely mind blowing. First of all, you see a lot of these different structures. They did not have angles on them. So, like what we see now, and I don't know if you guys have ever heard of this concept, but basically, in spiritual concepts, there is the concept of like the sphere, right? Circular, spherical, and then there is angle, right? angles. Angles are abstract and basically of the physical world. They're to trap energy, like your cube, right? Your black box, your cube. And whenever you turn a light on in a room, if you ever notice, if you look into the corner of the room, the last place for the light to actually touch or the last place for darkness to leave is the corner of the room. So it actually traps energy or traps light, right? Angles do. Okay, so you see a lot of these Tartarian buildings and they have no angles whatsoever. They're completely spherical, they're rounded. Not only that, they have on the top of them, we call them weather vanes and shit like that now, but it's not weather vanes, is what it actually looks like. They were conducting energy, they were actually using free energy. So you look like Tesla coils and shit like that. I think that that's where Tesla got all of his shit from. Was he was just rediscovering, and this is what we do because we know that there is nothing new under the sun. He was just rediscovering a technology that had actually been used a very long time ago. We're going to look at the knights and their armor and how you probably thought the shit was for battle, right? I don't think so. I think that they were actually using the armor as a sort of like Faraday cage. That's why they had the shit and it covered their eyes and their face and everything. And they would use the swords not to stab people, but to actually conduct electricity. Whenever you see in the early 1700s, 1600s, and things of that nature, too, they'll talk about how they were afraid of lightning. Bullshit. They were actually throwing those lightning rods in the ground to conduct electricity where they were outside. I believe they could literally harness electricity directly from the earth and directly out of the ether. Matter of fact, the guy who created the periodic table actually said that there was an ether and it would have an A and an E at the beginning put together. And they removed that from the periodic table, even though they still give him credit for it. Let's see if it pops up here. Yeah, see? Dmitry Mendeleev, the father of the periodic table, and his vision of the aether force, right? So whenever we talk about how we've got this, and we're gonna jump into this now. Fuck it, we're just gonna go ahead and get into this, and you can see there are images. I'm just going to show you the images of the Tartarian Empire. You can see it spreads off all across the, Eastern Asia, Eurasian. And this is where I believe we got the Caucasian race, right? Coming down from the Caucasus Mountains. Um, this would be where the lineage of the czars of Russia. This is why I think it was so important during the Bolshevik Revolution for them to overthrow those czars. When they were bringing in all the Marxist and socialist shit that you see now, Freemasonry. We this has been a slow fucking burn. And we're going to even look at like Jesus and how his name was Isu and the J represents one, and that they were actually putting 1,000 years, adding 1,000 years to the calendar. So there's literally like 1,000 years of history that is fucking missing, right? So instead of these buildings actually being built in like probably 1700s and shit like that, a lot of the ones that we're going to look at today, we're going to talk about red mercury and how it's basically vampire mercury. It's repelled by garlic. It's attracted to gold. They would use this for stargates, free energy, all kinds of shit. And you can see like all of these buildings, they would just be repurposed. And the person that would like basically steal the building, he would put his name on the building, say, I built this castle or I built this building, and it would go to some sir or whatever, right? Some lord, you know and then they would build moats around the motherfuckers and shit like that because people would try to steal it from them as well. That's why people would fight over castles because of how valuable they were. I believe that, it not only did, and you can see on top of them, they'll have, the antennas. You'll see the copper on top of the basilicas, right? And this greenish hue, that's copper, right? And this is all for electric conductivity. And I believe they did have free energy. And you can see a lot of them underneath. They had pools of mercury or running water underneath the buildings. They would go stories and stories underground during the World's Fairs. This was supposedly, what they would go through across the world. This is fucking 1800s and all kinds of shit. 1800s, 1900s. Where's it at here? And we're gonna look at the great fires of everywhere. I mean, it's crazy. So let me pull up some images. So they would be like the 1800s, 1900s, and they would go around the world to the different cities, the great cities of the world, Chicago, New York, every major city basically. And they would claim to put up these giant fucking structures with basically paper mache and plaster. These things were made out of limestone and sandstone, right? For the electric conductivity, right? Granite, basically. A lot of the buildings were made out of granite, limestone, sandstone. Just impossible, and the amount of time that they said that they would be erected, like Yankee Stadium, the original Yankee Stadium, all these different places, there was just, it was it was impossible to be done by horse and buggy. It was impossible to be done with hammers and chisels and shit like that, you know. And they would then destroy the buildings after the World Fair had left. And basically, what these World Fairs were they were massive indoctrinations. They would like go to these major cities and they would indoctrinate the people into the new version of history that they were trying to tell them, and they would destroy all the old architecture on their way out. You know, and they would tell them that they put up the buildings. That they did it. And we know now, looking back at this shit, like it's bullshit. It's bullshit. We're gonna look at some videos today. We're gonna look at some images. So yeah, these buildings have been around a long time. Something strange happened. Yeah, see, that's the thing. The whole mud flood concept. I think the mud flood, um, and I don't know if there actually was a mud flood or not. I think the whole mud flood concept comes from because all of the roads were mud. They were dirt. So you'll see in the pictures of where these cathedrals and these fucking massive buildings are, that there would be, dirt roads and shit like that. And they got wagons and horses and shit. It looks super, 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 crazy to even to look at it. You see these giant, giant buildings. And I mean, the statues and everything, the doorways, it looked like they were made for giants, right? And we know that all across the world they found skeletal remains of giants, right? And this has been something that's been hidden and covered up. We know that in the Bible it talks about that giants, at one point they walked the earth, right? They were called the Nephilim. These were the fallen angels. Every single religious mythology or mythos talks about men from the stars, whether they came from Orion, the belt of Orion, or the Seven Sisters, the Pleiades, star systems, that they came down here and they basically genetically altered mankind, made us as like a slave race, and they were the ones that created us. They promised to come back. Basically, what the Tartarian Empire would be is the remnants of the empires that they actually created. And these were giant beings that, their magic science was just beyond, the scope of anything we could even fathom. And they presented themselves as gods to the people, right? And this is, the mythology of this. So we're going to go ahead and jump into this and start to look at some of these images. Um, like I said, this for me, this is something I've been wanting to cover, but here's the thing about it. With this particular subject, this particular topic, there is not a lot that, I mean, you can find on this. Most of it is old illustrations from books, very dated images from books, and a lot of stuff you got to be careful because people fake a lot of shit nowadays, with the internet. and deep fake and all that shit. But, like I said, there's not a whole lot because they have intentionally destroyed this. So it's really us just, being able to like go through the remnants of what is actually left today and then go through the history of what we know, right? And what we've been told and see where things don't add up and kind of like, deduct from that, like our own hypothesis of what things are. But you can see there's the mud flood. But here is uh, an actual map showing the Tartarian Empire. So these are images from the Tartarian Empire as well. These are all maps. Pull some of these up for you guys and show you. And you can see, like, why would they have maps of this if they're, if this didn't exist, if this was, some fucking myth or some bullshit story that, is just being made up, some, fake ancient empire. And you know what? One of the things that really sticks out to me too is the fact that, humanity, uh, we appear to have been enslaved. You know, I really believe we have been enslaved. So, I feel like perhaps part of what's taking place here with this empire being covered up and destroyed, because this would be our ancestry, so to speak. Because, according to some of the different mythos, and I'll kind of give you my understanding of it, there were beings that came from the ether, and then there were beings that came up out of the waters, right? So two different beings, right, here on Earth, and we are the culmination of both, right? We're the hybrids. We're the water beings mixed with the ether beings, right? That's what we are. Right? So we came from the waters of the firmament, plus we come from the ether. So we're spiritual and we're physical, right? And it gave us a soul. Well, the ones that had this soul force were basically, these were the giants. These were unstoppable beings. These would be like your seraphim, your seraphic beings, your serpent beings. Um, and this is why on a lot of these Tartarian buildings, you're going to see as we go through this, on the tops of them, they'll have like the staff of, or the caduceus, right? I'll show you what the caduceus is. The caduceus. The caduceus is a staff with two snakes wrapped around it as a symbol of Hermes, the Greek messenger of the gods. The caduceus is also the official insignia of the United States Medical Corps. Who gives a fuck? But it says it may have originated with the Syrians, Hittites, and the Phoenicians. I believe it's before the Phoenicians, and the Phoenician Empire is another one that I believe, they were way more advanced than us. The Greeks were probably way more advanced than us. The Romans were, I feel like that's when we were starting to spiral down as the Roman Empire. But, even into the 1700s, we've descended from where we were at one place. We haven't progressed forward. We're just now, and our technology nowadays is like a dirty version of the technology they had back then. Like, so our way of manipulating energy now is they're using the biosphere of human beings with fifth generation technology, sixth generation technology. They're manipulating your auric field and your genetics. But the way that they were doing it back in the days of the Tartarian Empire, they were using the grid of the earth, and they were using the ether. So it was, and because of the frequency being so high, and they know this is true because food grown in high frequencies, like fruit and vegetables and shit like that, grown in high frequencies, it grows way larger, right? So the reason that the trees and shit like that and there's evidence of trees all over the earth being cut down. Where is it at here? The giant trees across the earth, right? Being cut down. They're just big fucking stumps now, right? And we think that they're rocks because everything petrifies here on Earth, right? If it was once organic, it will petrify or it will decompose and return back to the earth. But you can see these giant fucking stumps of trees. This is because of the frequencies of the earth were so much higher that everything was way larger, right? And we are way smaller, obviously, because the frequencies do not support that type of growth anymore. And this is a proven fact. Here, I'll show you. Well, they don't have anything on it here, of course not. But of high electromagnetic fields for plant growths, it said this has no effect. But hold on, I just got to find the right one here. Not feeding frequency, Jesus Christ. Anyways, if they grow things in different frequencies can affect the way our field is generated. It can affect the size of a human being. It can affect the size of our food and everything. And this is also found within the sun too. And I've talked about this, how solar cycles actually affect the amount of, because of the radiation, how it mutates DNA. Um, and how solar cycles affect the amount of time that we live. They affect um, how old we get, how we age, how intelligent we are, everything based on the solar cycle. So that's radiation frequency. The photons that are coming out actually affect human consciousness. They affect our physical, they affect our conscious, and they affect the food, they affect the trees, they affect everything on earth. Radiation from the sun mutates DNA and everything on earth. When we have these giant resets where everything is destroyed, you'll notice that these events, where these solar flash events happen, um, basically everything on the earth is slightly altered. So you'll see, and they call it evolution, but I don't think evolution happens in one little slow, fucking little tick. I think it happens like all at once. So we're going to take a look at some videos here on Tartaria, and then we're going to look at some images, and I'm going to just let you guys decide on what you think as far as this goes. Like I said, this is pretty interesting stuff. There's not a whole lot though, but you're going to see how when they talked about flight, all of this shit way before you know uh the Wright brothers ever flew anything. So the Tartarian Empire, 87 years before the first video camera was invented. Let's see if I got the. Hold on, guys. Now we're going to go through some other videos.
been taught is a massive lie, and it's deeply unsettling. Before the civilization we have today, there was another thriving civilization that was far more developed than us, the Tartarian Empire, a civilization significantly more advanced than us, capable of harnessing atmospheric energy. They succeeded in incorporating this into all of their buildings, enabling them to generate free energy for everyone continuously. This empire had also harnessed the power of frequencies, allowing them to build grand architectural buildings by manipulating substances and moving huge rocks through vibrations, such as the Great Pyramids and many other architectural structures. However, in 1859, Edwin Drake created the first successful oil well, and so the free energy was a massive threat to the oil industry. This led to the owners of the industry taking action on this and slowly wiped out this civilization from Asia, Europe, and North America, to gradually erode any mention of the Tartarian Empire from historical records.
And you see all
the
the
oil
buildings,
industry did this to
Capitol
maximize
buildings,
profits and maintain
and the
power
rotundas
and
inside.
control within their industry. The history we've all been taught is a massive lie, and it's deeply unsettling.
And if you look at it too, and I'm going to show you some of this shit, man, it's just, you, like, obviously, I mean, look at this shit. This is old Liverpool Railway. These are underground. And you'll see this in a lot of fucking cities too. And I challenge you too, to whatever city you live in, if you live in a major city, and I did this the other day when I was looking in my own city. I guarantee you, whatever city you live in, I live in Cincinnati, for example, and type in Great Fire of, and then put a city. I don't care what city you put in. And I guarantee you that there is a great fire in every major city across the United States and across the world, right? And it's because they were burning down all of the evidence of these old buildings. Here in Cincinnati, all of them had underground tunnel systems. Every last one of them. Makes me wonder who actually built like the catacombs and shit like that in Paris, like the underground cities that we see in the Middle East. And we're going to go through a lot of images, and we're going to show you red mercury and how I believe red mercury is used for stargates. And you hear like vampires of how like they're repelled by garlic and shit like that. Red mercury actually is repelled by garlic. It's attracted to gold. So the ancient fascination with Mercury, the god Mercury, is because it was able to, spin and create energy, right? And using gold, they were able to make it, spin. This is just interesting right here. Look at that. See, look at the architecture. Look at that. There's no way we could do that today. There's no way we could do that today. I mean, honestly, there's no way we could do that today. And think about the world wars. This is Rotterdam before World War II, right? The world wars and how they were also used to destroy in all of these major cities, a lot of the historical buildings as well, right? And how symmetrical and laid out all of these cities were. The architecture, like I said, a lot of times, more images here. This is the layer pyramid. And think about the Baghdad battery and shit like that. All this stuff, man. There's no way that we were making this shit with hammers and chisels and horses and buggies. It's just fucking impossible. It's impossible. It would take us 1,000 fucking years. And if you think about how huge the shit is too, it's just the manpower there, a million men couldn't lift up some of these stones. They weren't being lifted with men. They were being lifted with frequency. Toledo to Cincinnati, the Miami Erie Canal. I know exactly. I grew up where they had torn down the canal here in Ohio. It was just abandoned and demolished by 1913 in Cincinnati. This is where I'm from. We have a canal that literally runs damn near through a huge part of the state. I mean, it was a massive engineering feat. As a child, we would go in elementary school. We would go to the old locks and shit where the canal was, and I would always wonder, like, how the fuck did they do that? And I mean,
Check this out. This is the Church of Notre Dame. For any of you who don't understand what I mean when I say the Church of Notre Dame, okay, they could not have built this with no horse and buggies. The horse and buggy great people could not have done this. They did not have power tools, family. Listen to me, listen. The Church of Notre Dame was built in the year 1163, according to them. 1100. Family, the year 1100. That's when this was fucking founded, when the cornerstone was laid for the fucking Church of Notre Dame. 1163. You're going to tell me horse and buggy niggas. They barely just invented the wheel. Nigga, they had chisels, nigga, saws, hammers. Do you know what kind of tools they had in the 1100s? How did they move the material to build this church? Who was the architect that designed this? Who built these arches in the stained glass? Who built this, family? They dragged all the material to build this from a quarry site and from a building site with horses and buggies, fam. Come on, do the fucking math. That's impossible. Mathematically, physically impossible. It's like the pyramids. Impossible. Now check this out. The other day, the Church of Notre Dame had a huge fire. The roof collapsed in. Till this day, they can't repair it. This was 2019. They're talking about they're trying to use medieval techniques to repair it. Why you got to try to use medieval techniques, nigga? Because, family, they can't understand the architecture. There's no architect alive that can design the Church of Notre Dame right now.
Right, and you guys do remember the fire back in 2019 of the Notre Dame cathedrals, and that is crazy. We're in 2025. 2025. And this is supposedly how they did it, by bringing in railway, horse and buggy, right? And you can see the blimps and shit like that. They were flying these things all over the goddamn place. Way before the Wright brothers. Airships all over the motherfucking spot. and see all these different pillars, right? Over Zurich. These were like landing docks for these motherfuckers. See? These were like landing docks. They would have stairwells that would go all the way to the top of them, so they could fly their airships. It's crazy. It's crazy. You can see the images. Look at this. See all the glyphs on it? These obelisks. And I believe that they were to conduct energy. They were giant antennas. It's not just to represent a giant cock for the phallic symbolism like they say it is. Like, I mean, literally, some of this shit don't even look like it belongs in these places, dude. I mean, literally, look at like the World's Fairs. These buildings, they just, you can't even find nothing like this today. Look at this. Look at the architecture. They can call it Victorian and shit like that, but they could not replicate this shit in today. They could not do it today. And all of the shit was perfectly symmetrical. The acoustics in the building are absolutely phenomenal. Like the acoustics, so it's perfect for the conductivity of sound. On the top of the buildings, you'll always see these weather vanes or these antennas. And I believe these were to conduct the electricity and the energy. And you always see the rotundas. They'll have copper on them, right? And this is from this Venusian age too. This was the age of Isis and Ishtar and Inanna and Astarte. Ancient Egyptian times, I believe. Was what we would correlate a lot of this to. I mean, their history would not correlate a lot of this to, but what we would correlate a lot of the use of the copper and shit like that. And there's like pictures of a painting like of Napoleon and shit like that, where there's no Sphinx in the Great Pyramids and shit like that. Like, so I don't know how old any of this shit is, and neither does anybody else. We're only guessing and speculating how old a lot of this stuff is. I don't think history, when we look at like 1700s, 1600s, shit like that, I believe it's actually like 600, 700. Like, it's way older than what we think. Way older than what we think. Some guy online compared these buildings to a microchip. Yeah, no. I know exactly what you're talking about. Which guy you're talking about, and like the super ancient, like Buddhist temples and pyramids and shit like that. They do represent quantum bits and shit like that, qubits and shit like that. They actually do. They represent the maths that go on computer chips and shit. It's fucking wild. I know what you're talking about. Absolutely true. These were to conduct frequency. All of these buildings were some type of method of conduction of frequency and energy, electricity, and whatnot. And I mean, just look at it. Just look at it. Paris, Chicago, New York. And they were supposed to be erected for the World Fair. These were temporary buildings. My fucking ass, dude. There is no way that they built this shit temporarily. This was not a temporary building. Do you believe that they put this up in just a matter, a matter of weeks or months or something like that, and just to tear it back down? Yeah, fucking right. And that it was made with paper mache and plaster. It's just not true. You can look at the old videos and they're literally like driving horses and shit over top of them. Here we go. This is the Columbian Exposition. This is one of the best ones. Chicago's Columbian Exposition. Remember, Columbia, right, is Lucifer, right? It's the light bearer. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that. Look at the architecture. Look at that. And see, you always see like the staff, right? The staff. And I believe that this was to conduct electricity. Here's another image. Same thing. Shit. It's supposed to be 1893. 1893. They were doing this. Look at that. 1893. And they built all this shit temporarily to tear it down. My ass. No fucking way. No fucking way. No way. No way. Look at that. We literally couldn't do this today. I mean, we couldn't do this today. Buffalo, New York. There was another one. I mean, it was fucking completely immaculate. Buffalo, New York City, Chicago, Nashville. There's a million of them. You're like, wow. And watch, like I said, you can go Great Fire of anywhere. Any city you want. Just pick a city. Any city you want. Chicago World Fair. Look at that. Supposed to be the Field Museum. Look at these buildings. This Ferris wheel was supposed to be it was like a giant feat of engineering and shit. Weighed so many, like a billion fucking tons. The thing was huge. And think about even in the nation's capital, the District of Columbia, like the rotunda and shit like that we still have up today. I've been inside of that building. It'll make you dizzy. It's like so big, like the rotunda, the ceiling, it'll literally make you dizzy. And that's how most of this shit is. Like when you're looking at it, it's like so ominous and awe-inspiring. Like when you're actually looking at it, it's it fucks with your equilibrium. It makes you feel small and insignificant because something so big, something so grand, right? And see, like I said, the bridges and shit like that. This shit wasn't temporary. See? Cold storage fire. See, and there's fires everywhere. Like I said, you can go to every city, and these are the castles. Right? Castles all across the fucking world. Built on the sides of cliffs. I mean, we couldn't even access and build those today.
For their supposed time periods. It raises the question, is our historical...
They lied to you.
Structures in Europe, Asia, and
This
even
is for
America
educational purposes only.
Look at this.
Not forgetting that they also seem to be constructed with methods far too advanced for their supposed time periods. It raises the question, is our historical timeline accurate? Or has it been completely fabricated to hide something? Or were they all...
Yeah, they're riding in electric cars and scooters and shit.
There was a colossal empire named Tartaria that was a highly advanced civilization with technology and knowledge far beyond even our current time. They have even been credited with the construction of the Great Wall of China. But it gets even more unsettling. What if the dates on these buildings are wrong? Imagine if that number...
The J is I for Jesus. Isu was changed into 1 for 1,000. So instead of 1022, it'd be 1022, not 2022.
1 wasn't a 1 at all. Our history could be off by 1,000 years. The current timeline is a lie. In the late 1800s and early 1900s, they held events called World's Fairs to use as cover-ups to demolish our advanced past. Many recount that these structures were wiped out days after the events. This was evidence of a global civilization, a civilization whose roots could be traced all the way back to ancient Egypt.
Right. So, I mean, here's all the different maps. All of them. Yeah, we're not going to play the music. Look at that. They have all these different maps showing the Tartarian Empire, but somehow it's a pseudo conspiracy. And you can see the buildings. Look how they cover it up. Modern brick over top of the old. Look at that. See? This is underground. Supposed mine. With ancient brick and machinery. Here we go.
Civilization that was far superior and more sophisticated than we could ever imagine. This civilization was systematically destroyed and hidden from our history books. This civilization used atmospheric energy to obtain electricity. Having free energy meant that humanity could focus on more serious endeavors, such as creation, creativity, love, and self-development. We see these same geometric, beautiful buildings all over the world, from Africa to China to Japan to South America to Europe. These buildings show us that we lived in an interconnected culture, a culture that understood the deeper levels of existence and how to harness electromagnetic energy. History is a lie and a story built by our oppressors to continue to keep us enslaved, but we will rise again. Once upon a time, there was a civilization that was far superior and more sophisticated than we could ever imagine. This civilization was systematically destroyed and hidden from our history books. This civilization used atmospheric energy to obtain electricity.
Yep, it is fucking beautiful, beautiful artwork. It is. I mean, the buildings. I mean, look at that. Or let us take the matter of history, which along with religion, language, and literature constitute the core of a people's cultural heritage. Here again, the communists have interfered in a shameless manner. For example, on the 9th of August, 1944, the Central Committee of the Communist Party, sitting in Moscow, issued a directive ordering the party's Tartar Provincial Committee to proceed to a scientific revision of the history of Tartaria to liquidate serious shortcomings and mistakes of nationalistic character committed by individual writers and historians in dealing with Tartar history. In other words, Tartar history was to be rewritten, let us be frank, was to be falsified in order to eliminate references to Great Russian aggressions and to hide the fact of the real course of the Tartar-Russian relations. And this was no isolated case. In every Muslim area within the USSR, historians on orders of the Communist Party have rewritten history to distort the facts so that the Russians appear always in a good light. Needless to say, histories which present the facts truthfully have been withdrawn and destroyed so that the present and future generations of Muslims are forever denied the chance of learning their true facts of their nation's past. 1957. Drop this in the chat. That's too large. Sorry, guys. They had no right. No, they didn't. They didn't have no right. But, I mean, could you imagine, honestly, like what it would be like if they left a lot of these? And look at this.
The profits of the oil industry. The Tartar Empire was a society in which history is very different from what we have been taught. There was once a civilization that was annihilated because it threatened the profits of the oil industry. The Tartar Empire was a society in which they had learned ancient knowledge on the cultivation of atmospheric energy. They incorporated special facades throughout their architecture, and their entire society received free energy. They had also learned how to manipulate frequencies and move objects, which allowed them to build beautiful architecture. This is the same technology that the ancients used to build the pyramids. This society was much better than the one we have today, since free energy allowed people to focus less on work and more on creating a strong society. These people flourished for years until they tried to disseminate their technology. Oil tycoons admitted that free energy increased profits, and for years they erased mentions of its existence and misrepresented history. This technology was hidden and could be in the Vatican archives, along with other advanced knowledge.
Yeah, fuck the Vatican. And it makes you wonder, like, why the Library of Alexandria was destroyed, right? There's a Capitol building. and I've been into the Capitol building and see there's the there's the horse and buggy, there's the dirt roads, right? They did not build this fucking building. I'm telling you, I've been inside of this building. It is immaculate on the inside. The rotunda and shit, when you look up at it, it literally it makes your head spin. It's that huge. Literally. They had robots back then already. 1800s, early 1900s. Like, and we're thinking like all this shit is brand new. Yeah, we're thinking this shit's brand new. And like I said, take a look, and here's Yankee Stadium. And I watched one on Yankee Stadium where they literally do the fucking math on Yankee Stadium. They say it was built in like basically like 10 months or some shit like that. San Francisco, all the great fires. And like I said, just look at any city you want. Tell me a city and I'll put it in. Great Fire of Cincinnati. 1881. Almost Cincinnati almost burned to the ground. See? Cincinnati's got great architecture too. Right? It's an old city also. See? Let's go another city. Any other city. Anybody got a city? Anybody want to tell me a city? Any city? Great Fire of Chicago, we know is one. Chicago. Great Fire of London. Great Fire, New York. Look, 1776, 1845, right? How about that? Let's try any city. Any city. Buffalo. Let's just guess a few. Buffalo. Oh, what do you know? Nashville. I'm just guessing. Nashville. Oh, what do you know? New Orleans. Let's try New Orleans. 1794, New Orleans. Any old city. Dallas, there we go. Look, oh my gosh. Every fucking city. Let's try Denver. Denver. Yep. Let's try San Francisco. We know San Francisco's got some. Yeah, 1849, 1851. You see, notice they're always like 1700s, 1800s. You know? Anybody got any other cities? LA, right? LA, Buffalo, right? Let's try LA. LA, there we go. Yeah, they've had plenty. LA. 1929, 86, 1933. Let's try Las Vegas. Whoops. Las Vegas. Yep, they've had them too. There was buildings in fucking the Grand Canyon and shit. I'm telling you, this shit is just wild. Wild. New York, 1666. London, 1666. You tell me a city. Any fucking city. Any city. Let's go Philadelphia. And another thing was the bells, too. They removed all of the bells from these places also because bells were able to like chime out vibration. And if you had like weirdos and shit that would come into the city, the vibration was able to like do something, like if they were practicing witchcraft or anything like that in the city, the bells was able to neutralize that particular energy. They, with these weather vanes and the bells, also they were able to ward off storms and all kinds of shit. These people were advanced, bro. I'm talking advanced beyond anything you've ever imagined. Phoenix. Let's try Phoenix. Yep. There is, I'm telling you, there isn't a city that you can put in here that there isn't a great fire of. If it's a big city in the United States, especially, or any Philippines, it don't fucking matter. Look, Philippines, boom. I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck. If it's a great city in the world, it's burnt down. This is how they've erased your history. And see, look at this. Look, this is how they do it to you. Notice it's always the old ass structures. Look at that. It's always the old ass structures, right? That they burn. How about that? Anybody got another city? Seattle. Yep. Now I'm just guessing. I don't know that there are fires in all these cities. I haven't looked up every fire. I just know that I was fucking around the other day, and I'm like, I seen this thing that's like, put in Great Fire of and insert any city. And I'm like, okay, well, I put in Cincinnati first, where I live. And I'm like, okay, yeah, all right. And then I just started putting in it. I couldn't find a city that didn't have a fire. And I'm like, I went for hours the other day. I went for hours. And I could not find a city all across the world. I was putting in cities in other countries, and I could not find a city that didn't have a great fire that burnt the old ass architecture to the ground. And most of them would have 2 or 3 of them. They would happen in the 1700s, the 1800s, then again in the 1900s. It's like whatever the remnants was, they would knock that shit out. Yep, Great Fires of the World Fair locations. That's a good one. Oh, hell yeah. Yep. All of them have were all of them. I have no doubt about that. No doubt about that. And here's the thing about the World Fairs. They supposedly made no money. They made no money. But they were able to erect these amazing wonders of buildings and architecture all over the world, year after year after year after year, and then tear it all down, right? But made no money, zero profit. Zero profit. It's bullshit, is what it is. It's bullshit. Look at that. Look at that. You're telling me we created all this? You're telling me we built this, all of these places? Look, Paris, all of it. Every great city. I mean, look at the architecture. Look at it. We could not do this today. 1800. 1800. Crystal buildings. The pyramid in fucking Memphis and shit. Like, I'm telling you, this shit is crazy. Look, the postcards, look, they got, look, air balloons in the, look, Zeppelins and shit flying in the sky. 1930s. Look how lit up they were, too. Tesla Science Center. This is the Columbia Exposition. Look at that. Look how lit up it is. Look at that. That's 1893. 1893. 1893. 1893. That's 1893. Toronto was burned. Montreal. Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's not a coincidence. Melbourne. Right. China. Japan. Absolutely. 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 And they were all lit up like this too. All of them were lit up like this. Like I said, look at, and and then now looking at ancient architecture, Greek architecture, right? Wonder how all this was built. Wonder how all this was built now. Really starts to make sense, don't it? Really starts to make sense, don't it? Right? Really starts to make sense, don't it? Look at that. Look at that. There is no fucking way. There is no fucking way. We did not build this. Look at that. Look at that. That's the pillars of time. We couldn't create that today. This is out of like sandstone, limestone, granite. That's what I mean. It's like the hardest. You got to use diamond blades and shit to cut this. Look at that. Look at that. There is no fucking way. There is no fucking way. No way. Look at that. You're telling me we created this? We built these? Do you see like look how old this is. Look how old this is. Look at the intricate detail. There's no telling how old this shit truly is. Look at that. This is just what remains. Look at that. Everything absolutely perfect. You couldn't take a razor blade and go between the stones either, by the way. Look at these. See? And like these theaters, these amphitheaters were to amplify. They were like giant fucking parabolic dishes to amplify frequency and sound. They were energy harvesting is what they were doing. They were energy harvesting. Now we're going to go through some other shit. We're going to look at some other stuff too. I'm going to show you. This is fucking wild, man. Go through all of it. This is classic architecture. We're just going to look at different architectures. And you're going to see. This is all across the world. Look at this. This is Roman. There's no way. There is no way. No way. Look at that. See this? There is no fucking way. This is like a granite building, dude. Do you see that? Look at that. Do you see how intricate? This is built out of fucking granite. Built out of fucking granite. Look at this one. Tell me we made this. I got to get a better picture of that. It's too small. Hold on. Let me get a better picture of that one. Right here. Look at that. Oh my God. Shit is wild, dude. It's wild. Let's get a couple of different ones here. And see how it looks identical to like the Capitol building in the District of Columbia and shit like that. You notice that? How the architecture looks identical, right? To what we seen at the World's Fair. Like it looks identical all the way across the globe. Like what the fuck? See the basilicas and the rotundas and shit like that. And how they had gold that lined everything, right? And we're going to show you the red mercury, right? And how it moves with gold. Look at this. You can't tell me we made this. Do you see this? The Anunnaki, yeah, somebody. We could do it, but I don't think we could do it. I'm just being honest. I do not believe we could do this today. I do not believe we could do this today. Not with the materials that they were using. Like so just for instance, like the building I live in, I get terrible internet service because the building is so old that I have like plaster walls and concrete. The materials are way different in the old buildings, like all the river buildings in Cincinnati. They're, and these are like just early 1900 buildings. So imagine buildings from fucking 17, 16, 700, like as old as this. And then all of them, the ceilings lined in gold, right? And these intricate paintings and plasters, and it's just perfect symmetry all the way around. And the crystals and the chandeliers and the copper and just all of it. Oh, I love old architecture too. Yes, they do use the Super Bowls and all that to do their energy harvesting. I don't believe they can make this. I mean, honestly, I do not. I do not believe they can make it today. If they could, then why wouldn't they have fixed Notre Dame Cathedral, right? They're like, oh well, we got to use old technology. No, you don't. You just don't know how to do it. You just don't know how to do it. You can't replicate it. You can't replicate it. Look at that. Look at that. And see how it's all rounded. There's no angles, right? Because angles trap energy, right? There's no angles. It all flows, right? No angles. None of it. It's beautiful, though, ain't it? It is beautiful. I will give it that. It's very, very beautiful. See all the gold? Let's see if we can find some of this. And see, and the statues are always of these giant ass beings, right? Giant ass beings, the statues. And I don't know if I posted on my Instagram. I went to like Baltimore, Walter Reed Art Museum and different shit like that. I've been to Cincinnati Museum. I used to live in Baltimore before Cincinnati. And inside the museums, like all of the Egyptian shit, they would break off the right arm of it, all of it. Everything had the right arm broken off of it because it would have a scepter and shit like that. And they broke off, they would break off the anything on the face that would have something to do with it. Like I'm telling you, I've been to a lot of these museums and they're just desecrated. Everything inside of them is desecrated. See the sword and all of that, right? I mean, this is just how they do it, y'all. They hide all the history. You can go to my Instagram and you can see the museums I've been to. I've posted the images and shit. And it's like, see, look at this. This is Rome. There's no fucking way. There's no way. There's no way. No way. No way. No way. There's no way. And like all these pictograms and shit, they represent, frequency, right? See, they were giants. They were fucking giants. I believe these were the fallen angels for sure. And I believe these hats and shit that they were to conduct electricity. See how they all have it right here? The sculptures, they all have like something in their hand. They all have a scepter. They all have scepters. See? It's all Hermes, the messenger of the gods. And it's because Hermes is Mercury. See? Mercury or Jupiter, right? He's got the eagle. He's got the scepter too. See? And I know it's kind of a little off topic, but I once looked up why they actually all had little dicks in their statues, because it was considered to be barbaric if you had a big penis in these statues. Swear to God, that's why they would all have really small members, is because it was considered to be barbaric to have a big member. So, food for thought. It's no longer considered to be barbaric. It's actually preferential, I'm pretty sure. But yeah. Yeah. See? We'll go look at some other shit here. It's just fucking crazy, dude. It's crazy. And it's crazy to look at just. And see, and look, here's all the weather vanes and shit. Look, these antique lightning rods. This is where I think they put like the mercury and shit inside of these motherfuckers. Look. They were always made of like copper and shit like that. And they would have this little crystal ball on the bottom of them to put like the mercury in. I believe they were literally harnessing energy out of the sky. Look. See, that's why they're always green. That's the green is copper. It's copper. See? On top of the buildings. Look. Every one of them. Look. Boom, 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 boom. Look at this. And they're called weather vanes and lightning rods and shit like that. And it couldn't be further from the fucking truth. Look at that. See how it's green? See? See? Look at that. See how they're always green? Some of them are fucking huge too. And they've taken off the tops of some of them also on a lot of these buildings, by the way. You see how they have the copper wires coming out of them too? See? That was wired into the building, y'all. See? Look. See the light sockets? Look at that. They were conducting electricity for a fact. I would love to have one of these lightning rods. I swear to God, I would love to have it. Look at these. I would love to have some of these. And then the glass, they had like your uranium glass, copper, and a lot of this was to hold fucking energies and minerals. It's just insane what they were doing back then. Look at this. And our stupid asses is thinking like, oh, this is just to keep lightning from striking a building. Yeah, fucking right, dude. How dumb can you be? See how it's lit up? It's lighting. It's light. See? It's light. And this is Benjamin Franklin's lightning rods. Ben Franklin knew what the fuck was up, dude. Right? He was a member of the Hellfire Club. He knew what was up. I don't care where you go. For real. They're all built like this. Look at that. Then, see the Tartarian buildings, Crystal Palace. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that. You see how all this, like the spires and shit, they have like all the little lightning rods on the top of them. Look at that. And seeing these are the structures like what Kronos Crucified was talking about earlier. The guy that was that made the computer masks or whatever that he was showing that. I know you're talking about. His name's Jay something. Yeah, in 1990. Well, that's interesting. Emerald Tablets of Thoth, right. Right. Yeah, a barbaric member. Yes. Hey, I think that's funny as fuck, right? Like, so they have these statues and these like gods are like ripped to shreds, right? They got these amazing bodies and then they got like a dick like this big because it's considered barbaric. I think it's just funny as shit. It's like, hey, bro, I think your dick's too little for your body. But I mean, hey, if that was in style, whatever, right? Like, to each their own. Um, right. And I mean, I'm just saying, look at these, dude. We'll go through. Well, I'll show some more. We'll try to get through some more videos. I know it's a little bit more interesting. See, look at this. Look at these buildings. There's no fucking way. There's no way. There's no way. I'm sorry. We just didn't build. We're going to kill the music. I don't want to get slammed for it. But as you can see, look at this. The Great Wall. We did not build this. We did not build this. There's no fucking way we built this. This is Tartarian, for sure. For sure. See how miles and miles. Now, to a giant, that would not be the same type of feat. You know what I mean? It's like, how could a man get up there? Do you see like how high this is up in the mountains?
Was a vast country located in northern and central Asia, stretching eastward from the Caspian Sea and from the Ural Mountains to the Pacific Ocean. It appears on ancient maps, had worldwide influence, and once was ruled by an Aryan nobility.
Right.
Here we see a modern interpretation of Genghis Khan. Yet in reality, Genghis Khan had red hair and either green or blue eyes.
Right.
The same way that the tall, slender, blue-eyed, blonde-haired Aryan Buddha has been transformed in modern times into a fat or sometimes rather obese East Asian man.
Well, and see, and here's the thing too, and I don't want to get too much into the race because I feel like that distracts people from it. Um, but what a lot of people is going to tell you is that the Tartarians were like brown skinned people, and I do not believe they were at all. The Tartarian Empire came from Russia, from like I said, from the Caucasus Mountains, where the Caucasians would be, where Caucasian people actually came from. And the serpent people were blonde haired, blue eyed people, or they were red haired, green eyed people, right? So even a person like me with brown hair, brown eyes, I would be like, I have a son and brothers with blonde hair, blue eyes, but I wouldn't be pure enough for these motherfuckers. Too much native in me or something. Um, but my mother has green eyes too. So, and my grandmother did as well, and Rh negative blood. But as you can see, in a lot of the depictions too, the slave race that was created was brown people. So when the Anunnaki made a slave race, they said that they had black skin, right? So the slaves were that, not the gods. The gods were the blonde haired, blue eyes, the red haired, green eyes, and some of them had 6 fingers, right? That was like a genetic mutation allegedly by the red haired ones, the giants. And even in like the mythology of like Quetzalcoatl, right? And the Mayans and Aztecs and shit like that, and Middle and South America and Mexican America, uh, the reason they got their ass smoked by like the conquistadors and the Spanish Inquisition and shit like that, the reason they got their ass beat is because they were waiting on the gods to come back, right? And they had giant ships, but they were airships in the sky. They described Quetzalcoatl, the god. He was a giant white guy with blonde hair and blue eyes. So then these light skinned men come back on ships in the ocean, right? Generations and generations later. And you got to think these ain't the same people that met the original gods, right? So even though they were like Hispanic, Latin, they were still light skinned, lighter skinned than they were, right? They were lighter skinned than they were, paler than they were, and they were on these giant vessels on the waters, right? So they got tricked thinking that they were the gods, and these motherfuckers brought diseases and all kinds of shit because they were nasty, and they raped them and burned all their shit to the ground and took them over. They weren't the same people, but they were expecting the original gods, which were, Quetzalcoatl was a giant white guy with blonde hair, blue eyes, and they were in airships. And when the destruction of the floods came, it even says that the Anunnaki, they were so disturbed by what they seen on the earth that they flew up in the sky and left the earth for a while. They just hovered, right? They were like hovering up in the air. It was so disturbing. They couldn't even, they got off the earth. They're like, fuck this. It's that bad. When they were watching all of us die, basically.
Painted on the walls of ancient Buddhist caves, we can see the true origins of the ancient cultures of China, Iran, India, where blonde and red-headed monks wear Chinese silk
Right.
with Persian patterns, complete with a dot on their forehead.
Right. And the silk and linen is because these type of, and see, and this is the thing, polyester, wool, cotton, all this shit, not the same, bruh. These things have different emissions of light and frequency. The reason they were wearing like linen tunics and silk and shit like that is because it allowed light to enter into their bodies. These motherfuckers were so goddamn advanced, y'all. I'm not playing. They were so advanced. Everything down to their clothes, right, was to all allow their frequency and allow energy to flow. They understood energy on a level we can't even fucking fathom.
You see the red beard and red hair. It's a shame that these figures have all been defaced by people of other faiths at some time in the past. But it's still, it's very easy to see what they looked like, and we can tell who they were. He's got the red beard, red hair, parted in the middle.
These Silk Road Aryans left mummies dating back 4,000 years, as well as swastikas, predating Buddha by millennia, and predating any East Asians in China by at least 1,000 years. While some associate the swastika with Hitler, I would like to point out that this Russian swastika from before Hitler's time, before World War II, shows the swastika in the exact same position. That said, this is a United States Boeing aircraft with a swastika painted on the side. It seems to me that the evil connotation was not from Hitler, but from the winners of World War II, who seem to have something to hide.
Yeah, see, so the swastika actually represents the tetragrammaton, right? Which is the name of God, the four angles, right? Or four archangels, right? Which is the four cardinal directions, the four elements, right? And if you listen to, and I'm not espousing Hitler or whatever, so don't flip it on me, motherfucker. I'm not a white supremacist or anything like that. But if you look at the British people that were in charge of the psychological warfare and disinformation, basically like 44 years after their lie of the genocide that took place, they were talking about how it was going to catch up to them. And then 44 years later, I mean, it's still being perpetuated today. And if you listen to a lot of Hitler's speeches translated into English, just saying, listen, it's not probably what you would actually imagine somebody like him to say, because he's been so demonized and villainized in history. When you hear it, it will blow your mind. You're like, what was he saying?
Did you know that Genghis Khan actually came from the clan of the so-called Black Tartars? Let's go back and try to figure out where the people who became the Tartars came from. This is the Great Steppe around 300 BC. For the Tartars, the steppe is as much of a civilizational cradle as the Mediterranean Sea is for Europeans. But if the Mediterranean Sea makes you think of olives, vineyards, and ships, then the Great Steppe should provoke visions of horses, pastures, and yurts. The Chinese divided the Tartars into three types: white Tartars, farmers living immediately beyond the Great Wall of China; black Tartars, nomads living in present-day Mongolia; and wild Tartars living without khans in the forests of South Siberia, governed by chiefs and shamans. These are the ancestral lands of Genghis Khan. Genghis Khan came from the Black Tartars. He called his dynasty the Mongols, or the Great Moguls. They lacked the stereotypical ethnic features that you think of today. Genghis Khan himself was tall, red-haired, and blue-eyed, a typical European. In 25 years, Genghis Khan and 100,000 soldiers conquered more lands and peoples than all the Roman emperors in 400 years.
There was a race of people
and if you
known
think
as
about
Tartarians,
the different
which many
Tartars,
historians,
right? White Tartars, right? The blonde hair, blue eyes. The black Tartars, red hair, red. You see what I mean?
know little about. Some speculate that they were once a great and sophisticated empire. Old maps clearly identify Tartary, or Great Tartary, as a huge landmass. Its people were described as Turkic, an ethno-linguistic culture found throughout Asia, North Africa, and parts of Europe. Tartary had its own flag, their own kings, and their own language. Maybe these Tartarians were related to the original three-dimensional Aryans who appeared during the Age of Aries, descendants of some of those who survived the cataclysm which wiped out Atlantis. This is interesting because In Herodotus's histories, he talks about a people called Atarantians. Could he be referring to the Tartarians, possibly descendants of the Atlanteans? The Internet Encyclopedia, encyclopedia.com, states that after the Bolshevik Revolution, Tartars were targeted for extermination. In the 1920s, most Tartar leaders and intellectuals who wanted independence were eliminated through execution or exile. This policy against the Tartars continued to some extent until the early 1950s. It is important to point out, as the victors write the history books, they occasionally try to eliminate important aspects which they see as counterproductive to their own importance. In 1999, a CIA document was released into the public domain, written in 1957, suggesting that the Soviet government set out to erase certain aspects of Tartarian history from the official record, essentially rewriting history to suit their agenda and modern narrative. When considering that the Bolshevik Revolution was partly financed by the international financial cartel, it opens up a whole avenue of historical deceit. After the German National Socialists came to power in 1933, a strong relationship developed between themselves and the Iranian Shah. A great deal of trade took place between the two countries, with almost 50% of Iranians' overall trade being with Germany. The Iranian people were immune to the German racial Nuremberg laws because of their Aryan heritage. In 1935, the Shah asked the international community to refer to the country as Iran, land of Aryans, instead of its Western adopted name of Persia. In 1939, Germany gave the Iranians a library of over 7,500 books relating to German science and the close relationship between the two Aryan cultures. Because of these close ties and volume of trade taking place between Iran and Germany, the Allies put pressure on the Shah to scale down his dealings with the Axis powers. Trying to keep all sides happy, the Shah promoted his country as neutral. Unconvinced of this, the Allies invaded on the 25th of August 1941 in a joint Anglo-Soviet attack on Iran. 3 weeks later, the Shah and any pro-German government officials were asked to resign. The Shah's son replaced him as head of state, allowing the Allies control of the country's oil fields. Between the 28th of November and the 1st of December 1943, the Tehran Conference took place, the first time the big three Allied leaders had met together during the war, to discuss future strategy concerning a second front against Germany, and also the need to recognize Iran as an independent country. Of all the places in the world to hold a conference discussing the defeat of the German Nordic Aryans, one can't help but feel that Tehran, in the heart of the land of Aryan, was not just a random coincidence. Although the United Nations debate on the race issue and its origins was settled in 1950, concluding we are all from the same species, and as Europe and Western sovereign nations undergo the controlled demolition of its individual sovereign nations, one can't help but speculate as to who will next be eliminated from the history books.
Right. And see, um, if you think about the countries that to this day, are independent of the United States petrodollar, it's Syrians, right? Assyria, the land of Sarah, right? Which is like the 12 tribes. And then Iran, Aryans, the Terrans, right? Where Roosevelt's brother, this was the beginning of the CIA, where they done the first psychological warfare operation with $1 million. Kermit Roosevelt did to overthrow the Ayatollah by using paid promoters and all kinds of shit. And then the Hermit Kingdom, Hermes of North Korea. Just saying. Just fucking saying. Like, so you can't tell me that there's nothing to this shit, you know. There's something very much to this. Very, very much to this, you know. And no matter how you look at it.
That it defies simple understanding. The Tartarians believed that reality was woven from hidden forces, an interconnected network of magnetic, electric, and spiritual energies bound to elements and resonating with cosmic bodies. What you're about to see goes beyond knowledge. This is an invitation to glimpse the inner architecture of existence itself. The Tartarians described the mind as a magnetic field, a living force, reaching beyond the brain like the pull of a magnet, attracting frequencies tied to our desires and fears. They wrote that this magnetic field of thought was a potent force, shaping not just perception but reality itself. Thoughts were not passive, they were active, vibrating and attracting like magnetic pulses, binding our inner world to the outer. They described the heart as both electric and spiritual energy, the core of life's vital force. Every heartbeat was an electric pulse sending waves through the body and beyond. But the Tartarians claimed that the heart's electric field could align with cosmic energy, drawing power from stars and planets. This resonance, they believed, amplified physical health and spiritual strength, making the heart a gateway to divine connection. The Tartarians saw fire as more than an element. It was the essence of willpower and transformation. Fire, they believed, was the alchemical force capable of transmuting thoughts and desires into reality. They spoke of an inner fire within each of us, igniting willpower and manifesting intentions. By aligning with fire, they learned to transform themselves, channeling raw desire into disciplined action, merging thought, emotion, and energy into a refined, potent force. Earth, to the Tartarians, was the element of grounding, stability, and physical manifestation. They believed that each action taken on Earth sent out resonant frequencies, like ripples in a pond, that returned in kind. Earth's energy, they claimed, was the canvas for thought, will, and spirit. By harmonizing with Earth's frequencies, they brought their ideas into physical existence, transforming intangible energy into material reality. The Tartarians believed each planet carried a unique frequency, affecting the human body and mind. By aligning their energy with these planetary forces, they could harness influences, Jupiter's expansion, Mars's strength, Venus's harmony. They saw planets as reservoirs of energy, each capable of enhancing different aspects of life. Planetary resonance, they believed, fueled growth and empowerment beyond earthly limits. In the Tartarian worldview, all elements, air, water, fire, and earth, wove together to create a seamless tapestry. Each element bound to the others by invisible threads, magnetic and spiritual. They saw elements as living forces, each one contributing a vital aspect of reality. Air carries thought, water embodies emotion, fire ignites will, and earth grounds action. All interconnected, shaping reality like threads in a cosmic web. By understanding these connections, they believed they could master life itself. To master these forces, the Tartarians practiced elemental alignment, a process of tuning their personal energy to resonate with each element. This alignment allowed them to amplify their connection to physical and spiritual realms. Through elemental alignment, they achieved balance within, becoming vessels for pure forms of thought, emotion, action, and willpower. They became, as the manuscripts describe, living embodiments of nature's forces. These practices were powerful alone, but the Tartarians believed they could unlock deeper mastery through specific sound waves. They wrote that sound was the bridge connecting mind, body, and cosmos, amplifying their connection to hidden forces. To experience these same sound waves, click the link in our description. These are the authentic Tartarian frequencies, preserved and available only here. Discover the vibration.
and see like hemispheric synchronization and shit like that, right? Where you know, home stuff like that, or to make both hemispheres of the brain vibrate together, right? Like the Monroe Institute and the CIA. That's all they're doing, guys. Right? They're harnessing old technologies. Old technologies. Right? Old technologies. Right? They've been doing this for a long fucking time. Look at that. Like I said, no matter what you think. And this is what I mean with all these old buildings. See, these are all built for frequency. They're all built for frequency. Every last one of them. And this is we're talking about how they would mimic masks for computer chips and shit like that. A lot of these mimic the masks inside of quantum computers. Look at this. There's no fucking way we built these things. There's no way. No way. I don't give a fuck. Give a fuck. Don't give a fuck. Look at that. That's an ancient turkey. See? Telling me we built these? I don't think so. Don't think so at all. Sorry. No, I'm not buying it. Not buying it at all, actually. Yeah, we built some shit like this, but we ain't build no shit like this. You know? Sorry. I'm not going for it. Not going for it. Not going for it. Look at that. And see, like the sheer size. Look how small the people are. See, the people are like little tiny dots to these doorways. These were for giants, dude. These were for fun. Look at this. There's a horse. Look at the doorways. Look at the doorways. Yeah, Turkey has some really, really neat anomalies. They were definitely better at construction, that's for sure. They were better at a lot of shit. They were better at harnessing frequencies, sounds, probably better at everything, honestly, than us, just to keep it real. They understood spirituality at a way, deeper level than we did. They look like magicians to us, right? They look like gods to us, because we were so, look at this. See, I mean, look at the archways and shit. Like, and if you find like a lot of these, and after you get to a certain period of time, what you'll start to see is like at a lot of these castles and shit like that, it's like whoever would take the castles would build walls and moats and shit like that around them to keep other people from stealing them from them, because they had see how they have moats and shit like that. The reason they would do that is to keep other people from stealing the castle, because they themselves had stole the motherfucker, right? These giant castles. And I'm not saying every single castle on Earth was built by, but I'm just saying some of these, hell yeah. Hell yeah. I don't think we made a lot of these, for real. So, I mean, you can look at that. Look at that. And it's like the way in the places where they're at, it's like the locations of them. The locations of them, they're like on tops of cliffs and just the craziest shit. It's like, who in the fuck would build a castle Like, oh, I'm just going to risk my entire life to build this house on the side of a cliff. And I'm going to do all this unnecessary architecture here. And see, notice they all have the weather vanes all on top of these spires and shit. It's just it's unnecessary. You know what I mean? It's like there's no, there's no purpose in this. Look at this. See, look at the domes and shit. This is definitely Tartarian. Definitely. And they're in Germany, they're in Ireland, they're, it's all across the world. Oh, look at that. See how they're like all built. There's like no like, like we build shit with like symmetry and shit like that, like see moats and shit. It's to keep people like these things go into the water. The foundations go deep down into the water. They have levels and stories of the castle underground, also in water. In water. How the fuck did they do that? How did they do that? Sorry, dude. I'm just not, I'm not buying that we did it. I don't think we couldn't do the shit today. See how they all go down? Like, see how deep they go beneath the ground? All of them are like this, too. Every last one of them are like this. There's a fucking castle here in Cincinnati, too. Like, literally right on the fucking west side where I live. Like, it's only like remnants of it, but it's like 2 of the towers, literally. Loveland Castle here in Ohio, too. There's castles in Ohio. Like, where the fuck do people build castles in Ohio? I mean, come on, man. Look at these. Look at these. Look at these. Look at that. See how they have all the little, look, it's to conduct electricity. And they say that these weather vanes and shit like that would literally, the bells, and here's another thing. Yeah, we didn't even look at the bells. Look at this. Look at the bells. Look, they removed all the bells. They removed all the bells. And they're saying the Nazis took all the bells. I don't think so. I don't think the Nazis did. The Nazis was on some whole other shit. The Nazis were creating the bells, like Deconstructing and shit like that, right? And the bells, to me, they were for frequency. See? Look at all the bells. All the fucking bells. And the bells were to like ward off evil spirits and energy and shit like that. Look at that. And they blamed it on the Nazis. I don't think the Nazis did it. I'm just keeping it real. I don't. I think we blamed it on the Nazis. See, look at the bells. And if they did do it, it was so when they were taking over these places, the bells couldn't be used to defend against them, because the bells weren't just used as like warnings. They literally vibrated a frequency. So when enemies would come into your town, the frequency would fuck with them from the bell. I shit you not. And then one of the symbols of the Illuminati and all of that is the cracked bell. So like the Liberty Bell, they have the same one in Russia, right? They cracked the bell. See? Same fucking bell in Russia. Cracked, just like the one in Philly. Right? The Liberty Bell. Same exact goddamn bell. Same one. Look. Identical. Identical. With the crack and all. Because that's part of their see, the Tsar bell. That's part of their shit, right? Cracking the bell, right? Cracking the bell. Right? It's like them showing that like they've broken, like they've broken the empire, right? It's crazy, man. It's very, very symbolic. Very symbolic. Saying there's a crack in our liberty. It's not true freedom. It's not true freedom. It's an illusion. And this is all over the world, the cracks in these bells. You live in Chicago. The water tower is insane. Yeah, I've been to Chicago. It's amazing. Yeah. Well, they had what was called like earth lines and shit like that too, where they could literally talk on telephones to the earth. Hold on. Let's see if I can find it. Right here. See? They had earth. No, not this. Earth line. Yeah, this is before Alexander Graham Bell and all this. They probably don't even have the shit on here. But they would literally stab like a metal thing into the ground, right, with a copper wire, and then another person would stab one in their ground with a copper wire, and they would be able to talk through the fucking earth, right? Like, so this was before the Alexander Graham Bell telephone and all this shit, man, and the telegraph lines and all this. See, the telegraph, the railways, oil, all this. This is all Rothschild, Red Shield, Morgan, all these motherfuckers, right? Like, that's what they were doing, right? This is all dirty energy, dirty technology, dirty technology. This is all cracked bell technology, false liberty technology. See how it look at it. Fucking cracked bells everywhere. How is every goddamn bell cracked? Huh? Tell me how. It's symbolic. It's symbolic for your bitch ass being conquered. My ass too. See? It's right in our face. Right in our fucking face. Right in our face. Like I said, all the fires, just I could go on and on and on and on and on. All the giant skeletons they found all over the place. Look at these motherfuckers. Look at these motherfuckers. Look. Look at these dudes. Look. Look. You got me fucked up, bro. Look at this. Look at the guy right there next to the head. Look at that. And all this shit. It's all, they hide it all. They hide it all. They say, like Serpent Mound in Ohio. Like I've been to Serpent Mound in Ohio. Right here it is. So Serpent Mound, it's out in the middle of nowhere, by the way. It's in Adams County in Ohio. It's out in the middle of fucking nowhere. I've been there. You can't see it from the ground. So when you go here, Like, you can't see it from the ground, y'all. Like, it's that big. You can't see it from the ground. You walk around it. It's a giant ass park. And then they had right here where the head of the snake is, they had a obelisk. It was like a crystal obelisk that went on top of the head, and they said it got vandalized and taken down, right? But they took that bitch down themselves, right? And they said that they found giants but remains inside of the mounds over here, right? So, but that's just, you know, myth now. That's all pseudoscience, mythology, all that. But they have a giant platform over off to the side. You can't see it in the image here, but they have a giant platform. It's actually right there. There it is. Giant platform. I think they got two of them. One here, and then I think they built another one since whenever this picture was taken. But you go on the platform to even be able to see the whole thing because you can't see it from the ground. It's that big. So it's like these motherfuckers were either so tall, you know, or they were flying. They were flying or they were just really, really giant. One of the two, or both, is what I think, you know, just to keep it real, you know. And like I said, looking at the World's Fair, you know, look, they destroyed every fucking thing after they left them. 1893, these buildings. Look at this. Look at this. Isn't it sad? I mean, isn't it really though? Isn't it like sad to think about how they've done us and they've erased all of our history? And I feel like this is the one thing that would probably get you killed faster than anything. You know, I've looked at a lot of shit over the years, and and see, look at the giant trees. And like I said, there's studies. I'm not looking it up now. I tried to earlier, but Google's so hard to find shit anymore. But there's giant trees all across the world. And we think they're mesas and plateaus and giant mountaintops and shit like that. These are the stubs of trees they've cut down. These are giant fucking trees because the frequency of the earth was so much higher of a frequency that it produced giants, right? It produced giants. Things grew bigger, and they've tested this out. They've used frequencies to develop, like in different areas, to grow giant sweet potatoes and shit like that. Look, that's Venezuela. Look at this. This is all over the world. All over the world. Giant fucking tree stumps. The buildings, Tartaria, right? And then the red mercury. Let's see if we can find something on the red mercury here for you guys before. Oh, come on. Let's see if we can find this here. Fuck. Here we go. Let's see if we can find something with the red mercury. They can literally, this mercury will literally, it's repelled by garlic. It's repelled by garlic. It's attracted to gold. And see, all these things, right? They had mercury in the top of these balls. right? Mercury in the tops of these to make these lamps, and they were gas lamps and shit. Natural gas and mercury inside of this. This is all throughout these cities, all over the fucking place. That's the crazy part. Look, parrots everywhere. See? Look. Arc devices. See? For arcs. Look. These are the balls that I'm talking about on the top of these buildings, on top of these spires. Golden books of the Anunnaki. I'm looking for a particular video on the red mercury. It literally shows yeah, see, gold, it's attracted to gold, and how garlic will repel it. Hold on. Oops. Yeah, so like the first emperor of China, his grave, yeah, here it is. By fucking red mercury in his grave. They like literally the guys who built his tomb, they built themselves inside of the motherfucker to keep the secrets of it. Right? Look at this. This is the first emperor of China. It's a funerary form. They were buried in there with him. And he had all these figures and all kinds of shit. Look. The first emperor of China. Look at that. This wasn't just some regular shit, bro. And this was 210 BC. In these stargates, see, look at these buildings. And these stargates, too, like they would make the mercury spin, like around the circle. Like, so you see, like a stargate. Stargates, like how they're round like this. The inside was mercury. So right here, this circle, they would take like a spear of red mercury, and it would be with gold. It would be pulled with gold around this, like, and that's what would create the portal for them to walk through and go into other dimensions and other places on the earth, other energetic grids, just by having the frequency of it. Fucking wild shit. And they would do it with red mercury. Right. And that's where the stories of like vampires and all this shit came from, because it's like, it's called, it's a vampire mercury. It's vampire's blood. It's red mercury. It looks like blood. Right. And, garlic literally repels it. You'll literally see the mercury push away from garlic, and gold attracts it. It pulls it. So you can move it with gold. That's why gold was so important to the ancients. Yeah, well, yeah, there's canals in a lot of these places. Interesting. That is very interesting. The Mississippi River could be a canal. I would believe that too. I'm not putting that past anything. I mean, I don't doubt that at all. Honestly, I don't doubt that at all. I don't doubt that at all. Well, clearly, the video we're looking for. Yeah. And seeing these motherfuckers, they conquered the world is what they've done, and they've erased our history, you know. And that's why Confucius said the world is the world is and this is China's first emperor, right? That's why he keeps popping up. New evidence reveals a source of mercury in the mausoleum of the first Qin emperor. Archaeological survey Zhengyang City and Ankang Shangyai province reveals the origins of the mercury found in the mausoleum of Qi Shi Huang. Qi Shi Huang is the first Chinese emperor renowned for uniting China for having commissioned a gargantuan burial site. See, look at that. And his shit's surrounded by red mercury, and he's got his tomb is sealed. They've never opened the motherfucker because it's full of mercury too. And it's supposed to be, it's thought it's supposed to be like, the key to the afterlife and shit. So see all these buildings. We didn't make these, man. We didn't make these. We didn't do it. Sorry. We didn't do it. Nope. See, and they destroyed all of it. It's just sad. It is sad. See, look at the buildings. See the stargates and shit. See, they replaced that pyramid with a fucking shitty one. Yeah. This is, I mean, it's all over the world, y'all. All over the world.
Did we Tartaria's old ruins after the mud floods? Did we build these buildings or were they found? Multiple buildings all over the world seem to be covered in mud. The buildings seem to be much larger than we're told. How would these people be able to build these structures with limited tooling and resources?
Right.
And if they didn't build these structures, who did and where did they go? Old world fairs were used to bring new technologies to the forefront for different nations to see. Or was to show nations different technologies that they found from a previous civilization. Great fires were also happening around this time, burning stone buildings. But what technology was used to burn stone? Maybe it was some sort of direct energy weapon to cover up the hidden truth of the old world. At the time where people were using horses and buggies for transportation, how were they able to design and build these structures in such short time frames? With some structures being taking approximately 1 year under construction to build.
Right.
Tartaria was a great civilization where I don't think we will never know the absolute truth. We should continue to question everything because history is just that. His story.
Yeah, it's just bullshit. It's just bullshit. So, I think I'm gonna wrap this one up. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this. If you did, please hit the like, share this for me. Hit the thumbs up if you guys are watching at home, if you catch us on the flip side. And if you enjoy the channel, you enjoy the work, please consider donating, supporting. You can do so by going to paypal.me, the Best Damn Podcast, Cash App, Best Damn Podcast, or Facebook Messenger Pay, facebook.com. John Keane Best Damn Podcast, or by going to patreon.com Best Damn Podcast Official. I just appreciate all of you guys for joining, man. Follow me Instagram, Facebook, at Best Damn Podcast, Twitter, The Real Best Damn, YouTube, Best Damn Podcast Official, YouTube, Best Damn Podcast, and YouTube, John Keen 33. And what else? Oh, TikTok at the Best Damn Podcast. So all of the links are in the description box. So all the donation links, the social media links, and all that good stuff. I appreciate you guys for joining me. I hope you enjoyed it tonight. We're going to be doing more on this one. This was just really an introduction. I just wanted to get the ball rolling on this one and really, because I just don't feel like enough people talk about it, honestly. This is, but it's really important. It's letting you know, even if this isn't us, even if humanity, even if this wasn't us, even if we didn't build this shit, our ancestors did. Something that we descended from did. If we're half ethereal beings and half water beings and half of us, because we have two sides of our brain, remember, they're in opposition with each other. We're binary, right? So we have two hemispheres of our brain. So at least part of us descends from this. That means we have part of us that has the ability to tap into this. And they are trying to make us forget this for a reason. They're trying to hide our history for a reason. They're trying to keep us from remembering who we are for a reason, right? That way we don't have our power. That way we don't tap into who we truly are and what we're truly capable of doing. So I want to thank you guys for watching me. Please hit the like, share it, donate, subscribe. I love you guys, and I'll see you next time. You'll have an awesome, awesome week. Peace.